Greetings and welcome back to the Car Doctor Studios. Hey, I got a quick tip today. I'm sure that YouTube's probably saturated with tips and tricks and procedures for doing spark plugs on Ford trucks. But I got a little bit of info, might be helpful for people needing to replace the spark plugs on F-Series pickups. I would say this covers probably 98 through 2004 Ford Triton motors configured with the 5/8 style spark plug, not the newer 3-valve engines. I've got a separate video on that. But someone was asking last night about procedures for changing spark plugs on these, and it's a pretty straightforward fix, but there is some limiting factors involving accessing the rear spark plugs. This application is the coil over spark plug design, where each cylinder has an individual coil pack. So basically some of the tricks I have here is I definitely recommend using the snap-on spark plug socket if you can get it. This one here is a snap-on, part number S9720KA, Kilo Alpha. It's a deep well 5/8 spark plug socket, and I've got a little extension mounted on it. It's helpful to have a long handle 3/8 flex head ratchet. And then basically it involves removing the individual coil pack over that cylinder. This particular one had some misfire issues. I pulled up the codes. It had a PO307, which is a misfire for cylinder 7. And then I accessed the mode 6 data, and in test 53 I found that the misfire counts for cylinder 7 were off the charts. And then I went ahead and pulled the number 7 coil and spark plug, and we could do further testing and whatnot, but in this case, and with probably most of the DIYers out there, you may not have the ability to check the secondary ignition system or check the coil basically with the scope or anything. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just replace the plug and coil and fire it back up and see if that misfire is gone. If so, I'm going to go ahead and tune this thing up, which is replacing all 8 spark plugs, and then I replace the coil over boots on each coil. But some of the other things I wanted to talk about are when you do remove the coil, before you remove the spark plug, go ahead and remove the coil, and then you want to blow out the well where the spark plug sits down in there. And I use a little air blower with a long reach nozzle on it, and blow out that well really good, because in this case you get a bunch of dirt and crud in there, and you don't want that in there when you're reinstalling the plug, or for any of that to drop into the cylinder once the plug has been removed from there. And I definitely recommend using Motorcraft original equipment plugs, and that's a platinum. I believe in this case is SP405 or something like that. Let's see, original equipment Motorcraft. Anyway, be sure and get that plug. You don't want to put Bosch's in here or some weird plug, because you'll just have continued misfire problems. It's probably a nice idea to have the original equipment coil as well. I don't always have access to those apart from going to the dealer, and I've had pretty good success with an aftermarket coil assembly. But make sure your replacement plug is torqued properly. A lot of problems with spark plugs blowing out on these rigs. You want to make sure and get the proper torque on it. Apply a little bit of dielectric compound to the tip of the plug boot before you reinstall the coil over it. And then in this case, all we're going to do is clear the codes and get this guy back on the road. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to get to the rear spark plugs, especially on the passenger side here. This bank here is a little bit more difficult in the back, but you take your time, and again, that's where that spark plug tool comes in really handy. It's compact enough to where you can slip it down over the plug after you got the coil removed and the well kind of blown out with compressed air, and then get your ratchet on it and work that thing out. It's a little bit of a bear, but if you're patient, you should be able to get this thing knocked out in no time at all, maybe a couple hours, and laying across the front of the truck, but it's not too bad. So take your time and you'll get it right. Well, I think that about does it. I don't think I have much to add, but other than that, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing to the Car Doctor channel, and I wish you good luck with your repairs. Have a good one.